Welcome to the Hear K Tell podcast. I am your host, Christina Alexander. In this episode, we're going to dissect a couple things. First and foremost, the art of storytelling your own transitions along your journey, pillars to success on and off the court, and then what transferable skills are that organizations and professional teams are looking for. So my guest today, and you're going to listen, this is a good one. I know I always say that to everybody, but it's true. This guest today is someone that I admire, someone that I know has a compelling story to share with you. He is a Marquette University alum. He's a 9-year professional basketball player, a family man, and he's the current women's basketball assistant coach at IMG Academy. So please welcome Cordell Henry. What's up, Cordell?
What's going on? Thanks for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. I'm humbled to have you here on this platform. And I have to tell everybody, when I do bios, I just do a little bit of a snippet. I know you are a man of many things. You are a faithful man. And so don't want to shortchange anything that you've accomplished, but we're going to get right into it.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, good. So transitions are a part of life, whether it be relationships, education, and career. When you hear the statement, I made it out, how does that statement resonate with you and why?
Yeah, for me, when I hear I made it out, that means you endured something. Whether it's relationships, signing up for something. We don't always know what the whole road looks like, but we know that it's something that we want, something we want to obtain. And so when I hear I made it out, it translates to me coming from the South Side of Chicago. There was a lot of gangs on one side of the street and crossing over to my side. It was hard. So it's like got to the point where I saw and I felt the game of basketball. Everybody in the neighborhood was doing it. They was doing either basketball or games. So I fell in love with basketball. So I said, okay, I'm signing up for this. I know I'm going to endure some things. And I kind of just took it and ran with it. And when I finally started seeing progress each level, I finally exhaled and said, man, I made it out. I did it. You know what I mean? But I had to go through some things. And so when I ever hear that, it's like, okay, that person really endured and went through some obstacles and life lessons, whether it's like, again, relationships. Again, I signed up for relationships. I knew what I get myself into. I said, that's on me, but I made it out and I'm better for it. And I still was able to keep a piece of who I am. You know what I mean? I didn't lose myself, who I was in any of those relationships, anything that I signed up for. So when I say I made it out, I still kept keep a piece of myself along the way.
I hear that. I hear that. And it's interesting that you mention that because I think oftentimes when we're faced with challenges, especially at a young age, and I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper in terms of when you say I made it out. I know that you didn't do it alone. And like I said, you're a family man, not just the family you have now, your wife and kids, but the family. And when you talk about your brothers, talk about how that foundation was instrumental and critical in you making it out.
Well, I'm gonna start. Well, obviously the obvious is my parents, my brothers and sisters, but going a step further, it's my coaches. You have Larry Butler, my AAU coach. You have George Stanton, my high school coach. Let's just start there. So it was tough.
Okay.
It was really tough, and I can't forget Coach Hamp, who's my small fry coach. So quick story. So in seventh grade, Coach Hamp, rest in heaven, he had a paddle. He had a long wooden stick, and back then it was okay. It was
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
why,
okay.
I had to go give you the,
Yeah, but it was okay to discipline. And he
okay.
used to pick us up every Saturday, and we go to West Woodman Park, in Chicago, and we played on 8.5-foot rims, and it's called small fry, and it had to be 5'2" or below, and so it was those battles there on the court, and if you're not doing what you're supposed to do off the court, then he had that long wooden paddle, and he always brought a die, one die, not dice, but one die, and if you did something, you had to roll it, and whatever it landed on, that's how many licks you got. That kind
Ooh.
of, so that kind of that community kind of helped. I never got it. Let me say
Of
that.
course not. Come on.
Yeah, I never gotten it. And so I got to high school, and my coach Stan had the same exact thing. You know what I mean? So it kind of like, it definitely was a community, a village that kind of helped me along each way. Larry Butler, my AU coach. So again, everybody was played a piece into where something that I said I wanted, and they played a major piece into my development overall. just as a man coming up out of Chicago.
I love that. I love that because I think oftentimes when we tell stories, we often tell the story that we've experienced, but yet there are so many people who have poured into it. And I don't want that to go missed because we don't get where we are without people, wherever they may be, if they're still in our lives, if they've moved on to greener pastures. So that's definitely important. Now, I mentioned in your bio that you are a Marquette alum. Kudos to that because
Thank you.
let's not shortchange Marquette now. They rocking and rolling right now with Shaka.
Yeah, we number five in the country right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
little bit, little bit, little bit. Want to throw that out there, Marquette. Now, what makes your story, your journey from high school to college, a story worth sharing with your players today?
Well, I had to start all over. Had to start all over. We was number one team in the country my senior year. My junior year was number 17 in the country. We only lost 3 games to Chicago. Period. Like no 3 games. Period. But we lost to no teams from Chicago in 2 years. And back then, Chicago was considered the Red West was considered one of the top high school conferences in the country. You know, we had Kevin Garnett, who was a senior my freshman year. So I'm a freshman on varsity playing against Kevin Garnett, number one player in the country as a senior. Then Ronnie Fields, the number 5 junior in the country. And you know what I mean? So you're going through all of that and you finally have some success our junior and senior year. And then you go back to college, you start college rather, and you just start back to zero. And so what I tell my players now is that, you can't be afraid to let go of a 10 and to start over because 11 is one on the next level to get to 20. And then 21 is one on the next level to get to 30. Then 31 is one on the next level to get, so going forward, like you have to be able to let go of that number, that whole number, and start back down because now you have to relearn, you have to learn new things on that on the next level. It's not going to be comfortable for you. You know what I mean? You're gonna really be pressed to learn. You're gonna really be humble. It's gonna humble you. And I think, and I tell our players all the time, like you will be fine, but you at some point you're gonna have to go back down and humble yourself. So treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't look down on nobody because you're a 5-star, 4-star, and all of that. You know what I mean? Because like once you get to college, like it's all 5 stars for the most part. And so those some of the lessons I try to teach them on a daily, just to be humble. Have great character of who you are on and off the court because you never know who's watching. You're a brand, and so I kind of keep them, those constant reminders to them every day. Just to embrace the journey and cherish relationships along the way.
Ooh, folks, if you didn't hear the nugget, because I'm gonna ask him to repeat it.
Ah,
You said you've got to be willing to let go after 10.
yes.
Say that again for us, Cordell, because I'm sitting over here taking notes. I'm gonna be honest with you.
So a lot of times on different levels, like high school, I mastered the 10. Like, we won everything. We won Peace Jam, nationals and all that. Like I won everything as a high school player that you can possibly win. And then for me to get to 20, which is the next level, I have to go back down to 11, which is one on the next level. And so then college was over, got to 20. Now I go back down to 21 to get to 30 on the next level. So you got to be willing to drop, you know what I mean, so you can get better and level up.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Now, is that what separated you from your competition? Because I want to pinpoint what made Cordell special. Like what made him different from the other guys?
Well, I think I'm only 5'8", so there was always a chip on my shoulder. So that to me gave me something, to play for. That was my why. You know what I mean? Every time I step on the court. And another thing with that is that I was trying to get out of my neighborhood. Like I said before, you hear gunshots every day. You got gangs. Well, one day I actually got jumped. I haven't shared the story before. So yeah, so I was 7th grade. I was going to another park with some of my friends, and a group approached me, and I had like a little mark on my, like a birthmark on my ear, and they thought I was in the game. They say, hey, I'm sitting on a bench, and they approached me and say, hey, are you GD? That's one of the guys. I'm like, no, I'm just here playing baseball. Like, no. And so he hit me. So the guy hit me, and I just ran. I got up and I ran because that was the first time I kind of went through some adversity or something like physically. And so I ran, and I literally, I didn't come out the house like to our park. So that was one park, but our park that I grew up at, I didn't go to that park for a year. Like a full year, I would not go to the park, seriously. But I would still have like AAU and other events. But like my park that I'm known, you know what I'm saying? Like I used to go there every single day. But I don't know what it was because like the incident where it happened, that wasn't my park. but I was still just traumatized, I guess, to a certain degree. And
Yeah.
so going forward, to answer your question, I think that chip on my shoulder and me wanting to get out the neighborhood, like that was my chip on my shoulder every day. So like it gets to a point where, you know, you're in high school and we're lined up on a line running suicides. So my definition of suicide is gonna be different for the next person. I'm
Right.
running like my run, my sprint means totally different than this person, this person,
Exactly.
this person. So I'm not looking as a consequence or a punishment. I'm looking like I'm running for freedom, so to speak. And you know what I mean? So I think that chip and people saying I was too small kind of carried, you know, kind of throughout my career. On every career, they said I was too small. You know what I mean? Like I was too small to go to high school. They said you're too small to go to college, too small to be a pro. And so I just kept using that energy as motivation to keep pushing forward.
Mm. No, you have not shared that story. Thank you
Ah,
for that. Because it we all have something that may or may not have been traumatizing, but oftentimes the traumatization is something that we hold and turn it into a positive, but we know that it's fueling the actions in our present and then in our future.
mm,
So I definitely appreciate that. Now, you mentioned you was always too short for high school, too short for college, too short when you went to play professionally. Now you went on to play professionally for 9 years in 4 different countries. You were successful, not just on the team. Cordell was that guy, as well as contribute to several NBA Summer League teams. What was the most impactful transition as a professional? Because I know that there's listeners that are saying, I did the high school thing, I did the college thing, but I'm in this space. I'm either in the G League, trying to get into the G League, or I'm in the NBA.
for me, it was about just the culture. You know, my first job was in France, and just playing in Europe, like the culture, just embracing culture. To me, that was so impactful for me just to be in another country, another part of the world, 7 hour difference. And you know, and I'm big on opportunity. God put you in places, not to complain. God put you in places to bloom. You know what I mean? So like, I wanted to go to the NBA at first, coming out of college, and it didn't work. I did Portsmouth. I did
Of
the
course.
draft Chicago camp, did pretty good there. Worked out for every NBA team. Did work out with Yao Ming when he first came. Like I did everything that I could possibly do. But God
Hmm.
was like, "No, you need to go over there,
That way.
overseas." And so like, so right. So for me, really embracing culture and like realizing like, man, this is like going back to your first question. Like this is I made it out. But
Hmm.
the little things like the cereal, you know what I mean? I used to have my mom send me pancake mix. Like, look, I'm looking like, man, I really took things for granted in my life. And so I think that going there first to France, I always say 1A and 1B. First is France and 1B is Portugal because we won back-to-back championships in Portugal. So that was those two places I was held a huge impact on my life. So much that you know, my wife and I plan to move there maybe like 10 years from now and like live our life. You know what I mean? In a different country. So you know, just again, but it was that opportunity that God put in front of me, and I just made the best whatever you know whatever was given to me. I didn't complain. You know, seeing the world, making money for my family. You know, it was. I mean, it was something that I could never like. I have no regrets, like
Mm.
absolutely none. Did 9 years with no regrets. I played in the CBA, different minor leagues, stuff like that. But like, it's all part of the process. You know what I mean? Like, I embraced it all. God opened those doors, and I walked through them, and I came out a better person because of it.
That seems to be a consistent thing that no matter what is placed in front of Cordell, he's going to take it, embrace it. And it wasn't easy. Like I don't even want to sugarcoat it and say,
Oh,
he had a
no.
silver spoon. And no, you had your struggles, you had your adversities. But the common theme is that, yeah, you don't, you got down, but you don't got back up twofold. So now, which kind of pivots and transitions into the next question from sport to career, because that's what the Hear K Tell podcast is about. You currently serve as an assistant coach to the women's team at IMG Academy. And if the folks don't know who IMG Academy is, it's a powerhouse. I'll say it. It's okay, Cordell. You ain't got to say it.
Excuse me
What
once.
value?
That light too glaring too much.
Nah, you good. You
I was
good.
like,
We see you. We see you.
I got you.
What what values or life lessons do you share with your current players as a pillar to success and continued development?
I want to share. Is it okay if I share a tweet with you that I share with them? So I
Sure.
like to write. You know, my wife said, "Come on, write a book," but I'm not. I'm not there yet. So I like to write different things on my Twitter, my social media, and so I shared this with our team the other week. And I said, your why will be challenged throughout your life. If you are not mentally tough, you will always point fingers and make excuses. The individuals who are obsessed with their why will strategize, then move with urgency. They battle as underdogs, not as victims. So I want our young ladies to always know that, like, I don't want them to ever feel like they are the victim. I want them to feel like they're the underdog and they're fighting for something. They're battling to hear their voice. I don't ever want them to feel silent and walking in the room, wherever, a room full of guys, a room full of women, whatever. I don't want them to feel silent and, like, and point the fingers like, oh, I didn't get a chance. No, I want you to be the underdog, walk in there boldly, open your mouth, look them in the eye, take your hood off, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Great.
Right.
And and manifest the room like you was born to do. And so
Yes.
I constantly tell them how strong they are and how strong they're going to be in life and how successful they're going to be. But I tell them and remind them that it's not gonna be easy. Like, you're gonna go through some things. Like, and I try to be transparent with them as possible. Just say that I did my part, and they gonna pick and choose the things they want to take, but the rest is gonna, but I can rest my head and say, hey, I said these things, I showed them these things. Now they can go into the next level, they can take the things they want, but I did my job. So I constantly keep that on their mind that it's gonna be tough, and you're not gonna know. Sometimes this generation, they want to know A through Z, and I'm like, no, you're not gonna know every bullet point. You know what I mean? Like, if God showed you everything, like God showed me everything in my life, I'd be like,
Half
nah,
half the
yeah,
things we would have said, no, I'm
yeah,
good. Thanks, God.
right, I'm cool. So I can just share with them as many life lessons that I've been through, just kind of open their eyes, about life and how I got through some of those things, and pick their brain and ask them, like, hey, what would you have done right here? You know what I mean? So that's kind of
Hmm.
how I present it to them. I don't make it all about myself. I just ask them, like, hey, what would you have done in the situation, and kind of put it on them. You know what I mean? So
Okay, Coach Cordell. Okay, Coach. Now, as a leader, we often discuss transferable skills, and I want to keep that thought that you just conveyed to us in that last question. What transferable skills for athletes and career changes? Because I won't say that you're raising, but you are planting seeds in young women who the next step is the professional world, is the hashtag quote unquote adulting. So, what
correct.
transferable skills do you believe companies and organizations are looking for?
Well, they definitely got to be able to communicate. They got to effectively be able to communicate their thoughts, their visions. Visions enough for the next person they're talking to will believe their vision more than they believe in themselves. So definitely communication is key. Being flexible. You got to be flexible and understanding, like, you have to be able to work with different people. You got to be selfless. You got to be a critical thinker. You got to be able to problem solve. So it's a whole bunch that goes into that next level of their lives. But definitely, it's stuff that we try to touch on every single day. So as they get there, they have those different characteristics that they need to go forward. But they definitely, and I, as well as all the coaches that I've been a part and been working with and worked for, is character. You have to have great character, because character goes before you and it goes after you. So we're really, 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 really big on that, on how you go through school. How you are you sitting in the front of the class? Are you sitting in the back? Do you have your hood on? Like, stuff like
Mhm.
that. You know what I mean? So we try to let them know, like, someone's always watching you, even though you don't think no one's watching you. Someone's watching you, and you are a resume. You know what I mean? So, and understanding culture, that's another thing. I want them to be able to understand cultures. I think organizations want people who know what culture is, that can cherish it. Because if you don't understand culture, then you can't cherish it. You don't, like, that means you're gonna be bigger than the culture. So I want them to understand that everywhere you go, there's gonna be a standard, and
Yes.
I want them to get to, like, rules. Like, no, you got to abide by rules. You can still be who you are, but you have to understand culture, and you have to understand, uh, what the organization is about, so you can enhance where they're trying to get to.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I can relate now being on the other side of the transition from sport to career and working for a company that values culture, a company that focuses on who you are, what you bring to the table, and trying to ascertain what those superpowers are, what those skill sets are. And as athletes, as individuals that we've played team sports, I don't know about individual sports, but as team sports, we've had to do that our entire careers.
Mm,
Understand the culture.
yep.
1 year to the freshman year to sophomore year is two different things. The championship season to the non to when we only won 5 games, different culture,
Mm-hmm.
different mindsets, communication wise. When you were a freshman, the coach was communicating with you differently. I
Mm-hmm.
know mine was. I was all world. I left the big fish I was a big fish in a small pond, left that, transferred to be a small fish in a bigger pond.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations between the coach were way different. Now, as a
Correct.
point guard, me and you both know there's going to be some kind of conversation, but
Right.
those conversations change. So, understanding in the corporate space, in the business realm, that communication is absolutely critical. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the nugget drop right there. If I
Yeah.
had music, I'd play that too. So I can relate to what you were saying. Definitely. Now, we talked about, what are professionals looking for, what are coaches are looking for in this NIL space. What is some advice that you would give our young people? Because again, me and you have been there, done that, and I always like to impart upon them, whew, this is a game. You must play it efficiently. So what advice would you impart?
Definitely. Like, I mean, I wish they had that when we played NIL and all.
Cordell, we wouldn't be here right now if we had
I
that.
know.
Let's
I know.
Me and you would have bought islands.
Yes.
We would have moved all of Chicago and New York out
Facts.
of Chicago and New York.
Facts.
But
Facts. Yeah. No. Seriously. But yeah, I had those conversations with our players all the time. Like, you are a brand. Like, don't do anything to tarnish your brand. Clean up your social media, like all of that. Like, tighten up your circle, like all of that stuff. Because you got somebody affiliated in your circle that's like, that's not a part of seeing your vision, and they can possibly tarnish your vision, tarnish your brand. So it's definitely knowing who's for you. I'm big on relationships. Um,
absolutely.
People that's going to pour into you, and people that's like it's not for you. And because I think, and even I talk to my daughters all the time, you don't need a whole posse or a whole crew. You just need one person to believe in you, and they can be your best friend. And that's what I told, and that's the message I tell my 5-year-old daughter. She's like, "Oh, this is my best friend." I'm like, "You're in kindergarten. How do you know it's your best friend?" Like, what I mean? But so I have to have those talks with her. Like, hey, you just need one person to believe in you, somebody that you can cry on, somebody's gonna be transparent with you. But
Right.
but these young ladies and young men, like they have a great opportunity ahead of them. And again, I'm big on character. Like,
Yeah.
who you are you're gonna be who you are times 10, whatever you get. So if you are a selfish person, if you get the NIL money, it's gonna be times 10. I hope not,
Exactly.
but if you're
But
giving, right,
right.
you're a giving person, and you like to have other people and help other people, then you're going times 10 that. So it's kind of like, which one are you going to be? You know what I mean? And so, like, those are conversations I have with all of our young ladies and men. Just, hey, man, y'all a business. Like, don't mess up the money. Do
Right.
not.
Don't mess up the bag. Don't
Yeah,
do that.
like,
You
yeah.
don't have to. Not
Nah,
anymore. It's
nah.
in place. Things are in check.
It's bigger than y'all. Like,
Oh yeah, way bigger. Like
I wish it was like that.
I, I always say, I don't even need someone to call me. Just tell me who I need to reach out to.
Right.
I will make the connection. Give me some NIL. Christina
Yeah.
Alexander, former point guard, New
Oh,
York. I can go down the list. Like, where we at?
I know. I know. Yep.
What are some, Cordell? What are some of the other challenges that you or distractions that you feel athletes should be mindful of? Not necessarily avoid, but be mindful because things are coming at them fast. Social media is so microwave. What are
Yeah.
some of the distractions that you've seen?
Definitely social media. It's
Okay,
I mean, it's so hard these days coaching. Not I ain't saying our team. I'm just saying
right. In general,
in general. I mean, social media, like, everybody is being validated by social media. And you know what I mean? It's like they got a cameraman. You go to AAU, I go recruit, and I see cameraman. Like, people are hiring cameramen, which is fine. I'm like, again, I'm not an old head just hating or nothing like that. But, like, that's not. And it's like, I think things are given too fast to this generation, like, way too fast, and there's not a lot of transparency that's given that's being is being given. And then some of these young players, student athletes, they get there, and the tough conversations we never had because you have social media and your head's blown up. You got all these clips. You're getting beat by 20. You got all these clips in your highlights, and everybody commenting on your page. Oh, you're her, you're him, the GOAT, and all that. You're tough, TUFF. Like, I'm like, what?
right. Wait,
And like,
what?
and the coaches are afraid to kind of coach you because you can transfer. We in a space where you can transfer and go to another AAU team, another high school team. So they like, you just do what you got to do, and I'm gonna sit back Okay, you don't have to play deep. You don't have to jump to the ball. You don't have to dive on the floor for a loose ball. We're gonna just let you go, and then you're ranked top 10 in the country. You're thinking everything is fine until you get to college.
And there's gaps. Then gaps
And,
are exposed
yeah,
times 10. I love
exactly.
that. I love that. Times 10.
Yeah, and but it's gonna catch you at some point because you might go to college and get an NIL deals like some of the guys do one and done, and they'll be fine. But at some point, them habits and your character is gonna catch you. When you get to the NBA, yeah, you might do two. You might get drafted and do 2 years. But what are you gonna do? Those habits gonna catch you at some point. What are you doing with your money? Are you like it's gonna show you like your foundation is gonna be exposed at some point. So I think this generation, social media is definitely is a huge obstacle that is in front of them because it's not truth. It's not realistic in my opinion.
Got you.
Now
Got you.
some of them are, some of them not. Most of them not though. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
But we're talking majority. And there's
because
always
I've seen it, I'm looking like you posting. I've seen you play, and they talking about GOAT, and you're him, and I'm like, no, you're
no,
not. Am I
no,
hating?
no.
I'm just,
Just facts.
I'm
Just
like,
speaking from experience.
from experience. I'm looking like, if I would have played in this era, like it's like I play now from time to time. Like, coach, you too physical. Like, well, the game is physicality. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm gonna be physical on offense and physical on defense. Like,
Right.
yes.
I you know what? I commend you because I try not to play now because I know I'm going to go into the old mindset knowing that there's new rules. So
Yes.
then there's going to be some arguing. And I'm telling you, when I'm on the court, I'm not giving up nothing, no inch. And anyone who's ever played against me will say, "Whew, yeah, she was a tough one." They're never going to say, "Yeah, Christina put up 50." No, but they on offense, you got the ball? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see about that. Now, in terms of, because I want to make sure that our listeners, our viewers, take away from this two critical points that you feel that they need to execute to begin to establish consistency and stability. Because they're going, all right, I get it, coach. Social media. Look, I'm still going to be on social media. My TikTok's not going anywhere. But what can I implement today to establish consistency and stability?
I would say you gotta have a mentor, somebody that's been through the trenches that can help you navigate. Like where like they could be there now or they have done it. That someone's gonna be transparent with you, give you the bullet points A, B, and C. Like, hey, just focus on A, B, and C. When you see this, do this. When you see this, do this, and just kind of navigate them through those ways. But definitely gotta have a mentor. I had one when I stopped playing basketball, and I made that transition from playing into a coach. I had mentors that I talked to. I'm like, man, what should I do? I don't know what to do. I'm at a point in my life I don't know what to do. And so being able to lean on those individuals, it helped me immensely going forward. And another thing I would say, you have to have humility. You know what I mean? Like to
Mm-hmm.
be consistent, you have to have humility because like nothing should beneath you. So when I retired in 2011, I volunteered at my old high school at Whitney Young. Like I didn't get paid a dime. I picked up players, worked them out, dropped them off, went to games, went to road trips for not a dime. You know what I mean? So, but that opened up doors for me that very next year. Nothing's beneath me. Then I was blessed to coach Division 3. I folded clothes, broke down film, uploaded film, ordered food, opened the gym.
The
Like I did.
process.
Yeah, because
It's the
you
process.
never know, and if you don't have that humility, then it's going to be hard to have that consistency, whatever you want to do in life, because you're gonna turn your nose down at certain things. Like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Like, you know what I mean? So like, if I would have had that same mindset, coming out my first job, like I waited, like going back, like I waited. I did pre-draft camp and all of that, and I'm just waiting for my agent to come up with something with a job. And November 22nd, I'll never forget, he called me with a job in France, and it was Pro B. I'm looking like, I know in my mind, in my heart, I'm better than the Pro B my first year. I'm like, I
Right.
numbers in college, like I did everything, but I'm like, I gotta take it. And so you have to. So if I didn't have that humility and mentors say, hey, do this, do that, take it, and then build, and then what I mean, and each year got better after that. And then when I stopped, again, I had another mentor. So God put you in places where playing basketball and not playing basketball, I relied on different people to help navigate me to different places in my life.
Ooh, so very true. And it was actually the morning nugget last week in terms of focusing on the process and not always the outcome. So,
Mm,
a lot of times things are happening for you and not to you. And it goes back to when you're talking about the victim
yeah,
mindset. Like, this is
yeah,
a part of your journey. Enjoy it because it's going to be lengthy, it's going to be long. But in the end, if you, as you said, if you can humble yourself,
mm.
there's so many things that you can get out of that, and I love that. I love that. Now, you are a family man. Absolutely, you are. What is the legacy you hope to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Just the impact. I bring my daughters to work with me. The other day I brought my 1 year old to work with me. 2 days before that, I brought my 5 year old to work with me. I just want them to see how daddy interact with not with everybody.
Mhm.
Just anybody I walk across. I just want them to see the impact. Daddy's always happy. Daddy always have peace. Then my 21-year-old, she came here last week to celebrate my birthday with me, and so she saw a letter from one of my former players on the counter, and I kind of like read it to her, and it's like, it really, I mean, I didn't know it was coming, but it was like, just one individual, just one guy when I coached Chicago, North Park years ago when I retired. He just kind of reached out to me, poured his heart out to me in a letter. I mean, it was something I've never seen. It was handwritten, like in cursive. People don't
Yeah. Oh,
hear.
no, we don't write in cursive. Like what?
Yeah, but I didn't, I know we had conversations before him and I, but I didn't understand the impact that I had.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So in that letter, he kind of displayed like, hey, what you did for me in college, it was huge. Like I never had a mentor like you spiritually, on and off the court. Like you helped me so much. Like, so that's what I want my daughters to see, like the impact that I left the world, in all shapes, forms, and fashion. You know what I mean? So, and obviously the obvious, the real estate and different things like that, the things that set them up, financial freedom, but more so anything, I want them to see that daddy was always rich in the heart, a cheerful giver, didn't have any enemies that I know of anyway, and just
Right. Right.
live his life with peace and just in abundance. Like I don't have bad days. I'm not perfect, but like every day I consider myself pretty consistent, with how I live my day and how I do my routine every day, waking up at 5:30 in the morning, getting, going throughout my day. So I want them create as many memories as I can with them, as long as with my wife. And yeah, it's every day. So every day
Ooh.
here
Shout out your
in
family. I always say this. Shout out your family. Shout out all of their names, wife included. Let's give them a shout out because they are a part of who you are, who you have become, and I don't want to miss that part.
Absolutely. So got Deja, who's 21, Sanaya, who's 19, Scarlett, who's 5, Sloan's 3, Sawyer's 1, and my wife Shalena. So I'm definitely a girl dad. All 5 girls.
You think?
Yeah, they go to work with and coach girls. I'm like, you know what I mean?
It's
So
obvious.
yeah, but I love it though. I wouldn't, again. I wouldn't change anything for the world. God
Okay.
gave me an opportunity to coach both sides, the men's side and the women's side. And I say it all the time, like when God gives you a calling, like gender doesn't matter,
Yeah.
level doesn't matter. Like I don't care. I can teach beginners because I have lessons for beginners. I can teach intermediate. I have lessons. I got stuff to pour out into people. So again, goes back to what I said earlier. God don't put you in places to complain. He put you in places to bloom and to manifest things and seeds and plant seeds. And the hard part about being a coach and a mentor is that sometimes those seeds don't manifest as they get older in their life and they come back
Yeah.
and it comes back. So that's the championship for me. Those are walking trophies. Because like,
Ooh, I like that. Walking
yeah,
trophies.
well, I
Hashtag.
heard I had to give shout out to Kevin Sutton.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a gym the other day, like, talking to our girls basketball team. He say, hey, when y'all come back 15 years from now, what the trophy's gonna have on there? And they all looked around. He was like, dust. It's gonna be dust. He said, but you all are the walking trophies for the coaches. When y'all
Ooh.
get 15 years from now, have kids, and if you aspire to have kids, like y'all the coaches walking trophy. I said, that's kind of tough. I gotta take that.
I gotta take that.
I have to shout out Kevin Sutton on that one.
We're all going to be repurposing Kevin Sutton. Thank you, coach. Now, Cordell, what are two key takeaways that you want our viewers, our listeners to get from this special episode?
Well, just get a better understanding of who I am. A lot of people don't know me. I'm not saying I'm a celebrity, but just get a better understanding that, someone who didn't have much in terms of, things back against the wall growing up. I mean, I had obviously a household and mom and dad, but in terms of had a hard way fighting through things, and just I want them to definitely understand like the road is not easy. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta have to have faith. That's another thing. You have to have faith. Me packing up, moving, coming from Chicago all the way to Florida, you have to have faith whenever you do. I didn't have things aligned when I got here, so I took a leap of faith. My
Mm-hmm.
wife and I we was long distance relationship for 2 years, and one day I said I can't do this no more. I want to come to Florida, and so I literally packed up all my stuff, put it
And
in
went
my
to Florida.
put it in my camera, and I drove 17 hours. And she was so happy to be there at the time, so we both got in the car. She was already living here, but she was here before I was. She's from Chicago too, and so I definitely want them to know a little bit about me. And then the second part is just you gotta have faith and can't be afraid to take a leap of faith and step out and give it to God. You can't control everything, but you gotta give most everything to God.
Ooh, ooh. Folks, that was the nugget. It is what it was. Okay. Thank you so very much, Cordell. I appreciate you for joining us here on the Hear K Tell podcast. I'm going to tell our listeners, our viewers, stay tuned. We will have another guest next episode. Continue to check us out. It is here, the Hear K Tell podcast. Appreciate you, Cordell.
Thanks for having me, Christina. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.